Hi friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelly and today I'm going to be doing my February wrap up. All right, so February, I had picked a lot of very wintry books because I like to read seasonally, and February is typically very cold in my state, but like usual in Oklahoma, we had some days where it was cold. We actually had some sleet, snow one time, but it melted very quickly because it warmed up quickly, but we also had days in the 80s and the mid 70s, so it was a mixed bag, but this first book is not necessarily a seasonal read at all. It was The Idiot by Dostoevsky, and I will not go too much into it because I have a dedicated review. I will plop that down in the description box. But this is the story of Prince Mushkin, who had left Russia when he was young because of some health concerns. He grew up with a doctor in Switzerland. He's coming back penniless years later, even though he is a prince, which basically in this time in Russia, that could be synonymous with like sir or lord. You know, he is like a, you know, basically a lord from family, you know, inheriting the name. And so he goes to Russia and he's going to connect with this distant relative of his who is named Lizaveta, and he is going to try to connect with her, and he ends up meeting her husband, and their 3 daughters. They're a big part of the story. He, through them, he sees a picture of a woman who he thinks is beautiful, and this woman has an extraordinarily messed up past. Terrible things have been done to her. And before he even gets to that house, at the station when he arrives, he meets someone who is going to be very significant to the story as well. So many moving pieces, as always in a Dostoevsky, but I think that the psychological deepness of the relationships, the personal psyche, what you get from the political discourse, religious discourse, and the talks against nihilism are always so interesting. I definitely recommend it. All right, next I finished Cinder with my daughter. As you guys may know if you've watched my channel, I have a group read that I read to my kids 4 days a week at lunchtime, and we also have something individually. We have a bedtime with each individual kid. I have 3. Youngest is usually picture books. Middle kid, we're working our way through a Fablehaven book that we've been on for a while, and my daughter and I just finished Cinder. This is by Marissa, Meyer, and this is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles. This is a retelling of Cinderella, very sci-fi-y, fantastical way. So Cinder is a cyborg, and she lives in New Japan, a very dystopian world. The prince is dealing with his father having this terrible plague that is plaguing their society, and there is the lunar, for the moon, people who want to be at war. They have a really yucky queen, and they're trying to find a lost heir. So that is the setting. I like the tie-ins to the original Cinderella story. This was really good. I will be continuing on with the series with my daughter. We also, as our group read, we started this right after Christmas, which is perfect because the events of the story take place after Christmas into that part of winter. Winterfrost by Houts. This was a second read for me, but this is the story of a little girl who is caring for her baby sister while emergency has happened that her parents are dealing with. And so a Winterfrost is basically when the whole area has been covered with frost, and it's so magical and beautiful, and they kind of believe in Danish culture that more magical things might happen during the Winterfrost. So, but typically adults don't believe in Nisa, but children do. And wouldn't you know, the tradition of leaving pudding out for the Nisa did not happen. And craziness ensues, and the worlds collide in a crazy way. I really recommend this middle grade to read with your family, or when I read it on my own, I didn't need kids' wild-eyed wonder to enjoy the story. I recommend. All right, I also finished The Cairo Curse by Basham. This is the second book in the Freddie and Grace mystery series. I read The Mistletoe Countess right before Christmas, and this is Freddie and Grace on their honeymoon. I will say I enjoyed the mystery and the first one better, and I enjoy the interpersonal relationships in this one better. I feel like this is a great cozy Christian series. We do get romance in there. I will be definitely trying to read the third book, maybe the final book, I'm not sure, in the series sometime soon. So, Spinning Silver. This was a good one by Naomi Novik. I knew I was going to probably enjoy this because so many people told me they thought I would enjoy it that know how I like to read. So we are following so many characters, but the main one that we begin with is Miriam. And we hear people talking in their voice on their chapter. You have to pay attention. So Miriam is a girl who has grown up with a father who is kind of not wanting to do his job, not because he doesn't want to work, but because he feels bad. He's a debt collector and he has not been collecting on the debts. So Miriam takes upon herself, teenage girl, to do this. Her mother has been ill and she cannot handle this anymore. So she starts collecting debts. Well, she starts getting a little bit cocky in her success in this, and that leads her to the kind of Rumpelstiltskin story. This is not a very close retelling of that, but very creative. She has a servant named Wanda who becomes very involved, and we have a lady who gets married to royalty who comes in, and we have this world where this magical realm where it's bringing winter into their world. And of course, as you could imagine, the Rumpelstiltskin type character, he's not Rumpelstiltskin really, but I like that type of character in the story is wanting Miriam to create gold from silver. So I loved the characters in here. It did take me a little while to get into the story. I tend to read and enjoy kind of flowery fantasy writing. I wouldn't say flowery. Flowery is not a good word, but just like beautiful descriptions. And this was a little bit more straightforward, but I really enjoyed it a lot. I liked how everything wrapped up. I'm sad because I've been told that a lot of people, this is their favorite book and they did not like other books by Naomi Novik. If you loved something else by her, please let me know. But this was a good one. I really enjoyed it. Then I read Fortress of Snow by Melanie Dickerson. And this was sold to me as like a very loose Snow Queen reimagining, but really, you would never ever put that together ever if you read the book. It is more of a historical fiction, and there are no fantastical elements at all. I do love historical fiction and really enjoyed this one. So we have a young lady whose father passes away. She has an older brother who has had nothing to really do with her father or her family and does not like them, who has inherited the estate. And he's going to try to marry her off to an old guy. And so she decides that she has one other sibling, a brother who is also older than her, but not the oldest inherit. He is a knight for King Richard. And so she decides to flee to him. The older brother disowns her. The younger brother's really cranky and mad that she's come. Even though he loves her, he is still extraordinarily cranky. So she goes there, and there is, of course, a nice knight there that knows her brother, and he kind of takes her under his wing. And this young lady, she just finds a way to support herself, to build her own life. And there are a lot of faith elements in here, but it's not too heavy-handed. So if you are not a Christian, I don't think it would be like, oh gosh, it's heavy-handed. But I really... I liked the faith elements myself quite a bit. So my favorite thing is that she seemed to really support this knight that she has feelings for, and he supports her, and they kind of end up rescuing each other, which I liked a lot. All right, last but definitely not least, I've Said Love by my friend Courtney Reeds. She publishes as CP Cabaniss, and this is her second book in the Vows series. The first one is Before and After. And so this one does not have a cover reveal yet, but it is about Valerie, who is kind of upset because she has a love relationship that has been many, many years, and they've been engaged, and it has not worked out. he would not really commit to her. And so she goes back and she spends some time with some people from the first books at their home, and she is helping with their wedding, and she meets a friend of theirs who also is helping with their wedding, because this first couple, they travel out of the country for their work. So this is the most shippable relationship. I am not saying this because she is my friend. I feel like this was one of the most shippable romances I have ever read. It is so good. That's all I read in the month of February. I hope you guys had a good February reads too, and that you read a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.